What's up, football fans from the GoMileHigh.com studios? It's time for another edition of Football Guys TV. I'm your host, Cecil Lammey. Let's take a look at the latest news and notes from around the National Football League. Let's go to San Diego and talk about running back Ryan Mathews, who is preparing for a bigger role in 2012. Nothing but good news for his fantasy owners here. Mathews finished last season as the number 7 overall running back, and this year he could break into the top 5. Now, Chargers head coach Norv Turner says, quote, "We're going to give him everything he can handle," unquote. And now Mathews no longer has to split carries and split touches with fullback Mike Tolbert, who's moved on in free agency to the Carolina Panthers. Take Ryan Mathews in the top 7 of your fantasy drafts. The Chicago Bears have concerns with Matt Forte's knees. They're worried about him getting arthritis in his knee as Forte rehabs from his knee injury from last season. Now, if Forte wants to play in 2012, he's most likely going to have to sign his one-year franchise tender, which would pay him $7.7 million. He's looking for something long-term, but the sides are far apart in contract negotiations, and the Bears got themselves insurance against a Forte holdout when they picked up Michael Bush in free agency from the Raiders. It's amazing. Chris Johnson is working out with his team in Tennessee, and he's not making horrible rap singles. That's a godsend, huh, Rob? Well, Chris Johnson put the mic down and pick up the football. Johnson's looking to bounce back from a down season in 2011, and usually in the offseason, he would work out in Orlando on his own. Now he's with the team. This is nothing but good news for the Tennessee Titans and for Chris Johnson's fantasy owners. Now, his current average draft position is about running back 7 or 8, so you're going to get him at the end of the first round. Last season, he finished as the 16th best running back in fantasy football, and we fully expect him to break back into the top 10 in 2012. The Cincinnati Bengals already have a superstar wide receiver in A.J. Green, but they're looking for their second wide receiver as Jerome Simpson moved on in free agency to the Minnesota Vikings. A couple of names you need to remember here. First off, Brandon Tate, of course, former Patriots wide receiver, never lived up to his potential because knee injuries have robbed him of his elite athleticism. Used to remind scouts of the Eagles' Jeremy Maclin. So Tate is competing with Armon Binns, undrafted kid out of Cincinnati. Saw him at the Shrine game in 2010. This kid is very big, very physical, and knows how to use his big frame to box out defenders. I think Binns ends up winning this job and could be more of a fantasy factor than some think. What are we supposed to think about Randy Moss? He's spectacular, and then he goes away, goes to Oakland, he's nothing, goes to New England, he's amazing, and then he falls off the earth with the Tennessee Titans. But now he's with the San Francisco 49ers and already impressing his teammates, tight end Vernon Davis saying he looks like the Randy Moss of old. And if he does, wow, what a fantasy factor he could be. We know the 49ers have a very tough defense and a world-class ground game led by Frank Gore, but they needed to add weapons around quarterback Alex Smith. It's exactly what they've done this season as they look to make a run at the Super Bowl, and Randy Moss, get him late in your drafts. That's where his average draft position is, in the teens. Get him late in your drafts. He could pay off big for you this year. It's time for our Twitter question of the week. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at FootballGuysTV. This week's question comes from @FantasyPhoenix. He says, in your opinion, who has been the most impressive in OTAs thus far? Well, it's May and everybody looks good in minicamp, right? Well, there's a few exceptions here, a few guys that we need to highlight for fantasy owners. First up in Minnesota, wide receiver Jerome Simpson. A lot of people saying the Vikings got the steal of free agency in picking up Simpson, who should be a perfect complementary receiver opposite of Percy Harvin. The other player to mention that's really impressing in OTAs is Santana Moss with the Washington Redskins. The old man dropped about 15 pounds and is catching everything at Redskins OTAs. Yeah, they brought in a bunch of new help at the wide receiver position. Pierre Garçon, Leonard Hankerson, the second-year guy, Josh Morgan they got in free agency. But Santana Moss may be able to outperform them all. From the Go Mile High studios, that's a wrap for this week's edition of Football Guys TV. Hey, I want to remind you to sign up for our free daily newsletter at footballguys.com. Every single morning, the latest news and notes right to your inbox. Again, our free daily newsletter. You can sign up for it at footballguys.com. From a man, Rob Wagner, the man in the box, get back in that box. I'm Cecil Lammey saying thanks for watching. Stay tuned and stay frosty.